That's a good one.
There you go. I'm just
yeah,
starting
that's
to
lovely.
record.
You're just
So-
starting to record.
So I'm just going to pretend we have an audience here. And hi, everybody, whoever is listening and seeing us. Megan and I, we've just decided we're going to record our conversation because it might be meaningful to other people than just us. We're friends, we're professionals, and we like to have deep conversations, and we want to share that with you. So Megan just came up with the awesome topic of what sucks in our lives.
Yeah.
Or is there different, like, well, what did you say exactly?
When things suck in our lives.
Like
yes,
that.
I took it from yours. It's like, what do we do when things suck in our lives?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I mean, you came up with it, and it's a very powerful, energetically powerful word, suck.
Yeah. Well, I think that because we're both into spirituality, it's sometimes, there's lots of teachings where it says like things aren't supposed to suck. And then when they do suck, then we tell ourselves even more that like, okay, we suck even more. And it kind of gets into this sucking feeling, keeps pulling you down.
Yeah.
And that's, that definitely has happened in my life over many times, where then I beat myself up for going, okay, well, life's not supposed to be like this. I do this right, and I do this right, and I do this right. And yet, look what is going on. But what I've come for myself, that I've come to find that works good for me, is remembering that I have been in this place before. Things always turn out better. And then finding those things that I love to do, that I do like to do, I love to dance, and I love yoga and movement. I love nature. So it's like when those things happen, it's like, just go and get perspective and go back to those spaces. That helps me.
That to me sounds like you have a really deep belief that has been proven to be correct. Things have sucked, but they got better, and then you kind of have developed a recipe of what to do. Like you say, you do the things that you love. And by the way, except for the yoga thing, they're all things that I love. I just haven't gotten into yoga yet. I don't know why, but I think it would be totally me, but I haven't tried it. But nature and spirituality and dancing, everything and anything really that gets me into this feeling of flow, of energetic flow, of connection to like a bigger part, a higher part of myself, where I'm more than just little Ina here in COVID who experiences things, and even before COVID. So that feels like I'm doing the same stuff as you are. And the belief that this is not all there's good, and that like that's not all gonna be like that forever. Like it's gonna pass, in short words. Yeah. Sometimes I can't find the words. Yeah. So how did you get that belief that it's temporary? It'll pass.
Yeah. So as you're talking about, it's like for a long time I didn't believe it. So I think that the first step to doing that, when I came to myself, was realizing that I actually deserve to have life not suck. Get to the point where it's like, because like before, I always believed that like suffering was like part of it. It's like I came here to suffer, and life was supposed to suck, and nobody was going to get me out of it. So I guess it was like that deep belief of that. And it would just be more recently where it's just really started to soak in that, wait, I've been here, and I actually do want to feel better. And I deserve it. How did I get to that? A lot of healing work, a lot of working on myself, getting to those beliefs, and actually like feeling and being honest with myself, because when people would be around me and say, well, if everybody wants to love themselves, and for me to actually pay attention to that feeling inside of myself going, but I don't, but I wouldn't consciously admit that, right? Because that would be bad. But like to feel that in my body and then get to a point where I'm like, wait, no, I don't. Huh, what's that all about? And then be willing to investigate that through different healing modalities. And that's why I like to do what I do now, because I believe that that's how I've gotten to a point where I can find the strength to go, okay, you know what, this is not necessarily the way that I believe my life to be going, and it's not 100% great, but I can go to those things that I really do love and make myself feel good in that, and come out and go, oh, look, once again, that's just kind of passed by and it's all good. Instead of sleeping.
Practicing that, I mean, does it get easier to get
Yes.
from one state that's more negative to a positive one?
It does eventually get easier the more you listen to your thoughts. Like, to me, it's like the more I listened to it and heard that voice and then decided I wasn't going to listen to it anymore. It's very
You
yeah.
you have that inner dialogue going. I have that as well. And like in my, like, I'm a coach, I'm a life coach. And there are certain terms they're called shame beliefs. Those are core beliefs that you have about yourself that are negative, and they're not true. But you established them at some point in your life during your childhood for whatever reason. Because you're a child, there's no filter, there's no rationalizing, there's no really qualifying if stuff that's being said to you is actually true. You just take things in and you create these beliefs about yourself, and then they become kind of unconscious, and they get activated. You get triggered into a certain feeling, a negative feeling, and then you act this out. You have this automated response that you have established. It's a recipe. You feel bad because you got triggered, and then you go into behaviors of, they're different for people, patterns, anger, frustration. You act out in a different way, or you do poor me, feel a pity party. There's all this stuff, and for me, those beliefs, that was such a big realization some years ago, that I had those. I never understood that. I just felt negative, and I didn't understand my shame belief was I'm not enough. But that played into every moment of my life, into my work, into my relationships, not in the most destructive way necessarily, but it still was destructive to my happiness.
So how did you find that you got out of those beliefs? Like, what did you do? What were your number ones, twos?
The first thing, like you said, lots of work on myself. And for me, it's the understanding that I give meaning to everything. Like me, whatever I experience, I can give meaning to it. I'm not out of control. I'm actually in control. Even if the situation is negative, I can assign positive or negative meaning. Like you said, you have that belief where something bad happens or it's uncomfortable. You have that belief ingrained in you. It's going to get better. I can pull myself out of it. Just to have that belief, to be conscious that you can do things. You have power within you to see the world and experience the world and yourself in a different way. So the understanding that you create your own beliefs, I think that's really, really powerful. And then the work for me and for my clients is to get to know yourself better, to peel back all those, I don't know, they usually have that metaphor of the onion where you peel back all the layers, right? So you look at all the stuff that you have within you, the beliefs, the filters, the patterns, the trauma you have, the cultural stuff that you've been conditioned to believe, the societal stuff, all the programming that you have. And then you peel back and you get to the understanding that you can decide, you can choose what you want to
Mhm.
believe. You can choose who you want to be. You can work
Mhm.
on everything that you have inside of you and change it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the foundation
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
moving forward, becoming a different person, to be able to follow your purpose or
Mhm.
be healthy, be happy,
Yeah.
have a fulfilled life, really.
Mhm. And being like, as you're saying this, it's like to get you out of there as well, like out of that feeling of being like life is sucking, is like having, what would that look like for you? What does that
Yeah,
mean? You know? And
yeah,
like what would your ultimate life be like? You know? Because sometimes we're not like, we don't look that into that space. Like for me, it was like just trying to survive sometimes, like day after day. It's like I just have to survive at certain points. And then all of a sudden to have like a vision of, oh boy, you know what, this would be really lovely. I mean, if I could choose to have that, I don't have to be stuck in that job for that, you know, or whatever it is that I felt like I was being stuck in. And to be given permission to dream and not have, well, that's just a dream. You can't have that. Like, no,
that's
dream.
interesting. That's interesting, to be given permission to dream. Who gave you that permission?
Well, I think probably in all my healing things, but myself had to give myself permission to dream. But I
Okay.
think I had to hear it like that. It was like, huh, somebody is actually asking me, I think in one of the coaching things, like, what do you want? And I'm like, who are you talking to? What do you mean? What do I want? Like, I'm allowed to dream like big, like they're
Yeah.
like everything, like anything you ever had in your imagination of things. And I'm not talking about, I'm not so much into like the big yachts or big cars or something like that. That's not really it. But just the whole vision of how my life would be with relationships and people around me, and how I want to walk into a room and just be present and just dream as big as I can possibly dream on what I could do and be in the world. And I think that's important for people to, yeah, to do that. Like dream big. There's,
Yeah.
you know what? Have a carnival in your backyard because you love the circus. Like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah. That's true. And sometimes you need to have like an affirmation or that permission from the outside. You need to hear it from someone to
Mhm.
activate your own way of giving permission.
Mhm.
Like I had the same thing. I had someone tell me, um, stop it. That was really
Mhm.
cool. I was in my things spinning out in a negative kind of cycle, and it was a coach who just said, stop it. And it was like, what? And then it was like, okay, well, yeah, because I'm just reiterating the same shit, the suck, the going on and on and on about what the problem is. And that stop it gave me pause. And then it was like I could hear a question, a follow-up question afterwards. What do
Mhm.
you want to
Mhm.
do? Like you, what do you want to do?
Mhm.
What do you want to do with your life?
Mhm.
What, like, what would make you happy? What do you want to
Yeah.
believe? What choices do you want to make? What is it you
Mhm.
want?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that was really powerful. The
Mhm.
simple stop it. And that was equal to giving me permission to think for myself.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, like when I hear that, I'm like, it's that has a lot to do with going back into childhood traumas and stuff, right? And like survival patterns that we've had to pick up, which can be another topic at another time. But yeah, just thinking, you know, when we would like to ask for something that we needed, which was just a basic need, and then not being able to get it or receive it, automatically you just stop asking. And then you stop even having the thought that you could have it to begin with, you know? And a couple of times where you might come out and have a dream and then have it be kind of squish back in just kind of goes, oh yeah, see, I still can't. And then we just keep, and then we start doing it to ourselves, and we get stuck in that pattern. Well, we'll just do it because, there's nobody there to do it for us. But I'm comfortable with this feeling now. And I won't even think I have anything that I need or that I want, because why would I? So yeah, I think it goes, there's a lot in there. And, it's a good thing to have coaches.
Yes, let's
Isn't it?
advertise yourself. Coaches are
Yes.
great. No, but honestly, I mean,
Coaches.
before I became a coach, I didn't really know what a coach was. And now I cannot imagine my life without a coach or several who
Yeah.
give me that space where there's no judgment, there's no advice, there's no playing support or whatever. It's
Mhm.
just the raw, what do you want? What are your thoughts? Explore
Yeah.
your thoughts, and don't feel bad about your thoughts.
Mhm.
It's so empowering to be able to explore deep within yourself, and
Mhm.
then sometimes be challenged. Is that really true? Or how else could you think about this? Or why
Yeah.
is this important to you? Those are all the questions the friends don't ask, because
Yeah.
that's not the kind of conversation that you have with a friend, because there's
Yeah.
a back
Yeah.
and forth, there's a giving and taking in a friendship, but the giving is advice, usually is support, is moral support, is my own experiences will help you get over your shit. But in a
Yeah.
coaching relationship, you don't get the other person's baggage. You get their
Yes.
best and highest self. You get
Yeah.
the questions that have no judgment. You get the questions that lead you to your insights, to going deep and exploring what's there. And
Yeah.
there's no shame or no guilt for what you find.
Yep.
That's what I could never do without in my
Yeah.
life. I swear. This is
Yeah.
best thing. Best thing. And I like being that for someone else as well, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's to see someone else empowered, to see someone else gives me goosebumps just to think about it, having these revelations about themselves and these insights. And then they do something with it in their lives. And it
Yeah.
makes them happy. It's awesome. It's just
And
like,
yeah.
yeah.
And empowering others and being like of service. And that's what we're here for,
Yeah. And
really,
spirituality, we're
for
both
me.
spiritual people.
Mhm.
But like, how do you integrate your spirituality in your work or in your life? What does that look like?
Well, I think it looks like in every moment, I'm constantly, I'm feeling like, even in the moments of washing the dishes or making a bed, I always try to bring that like spirituality. So I do little quotations because I think we are spiritual beings, right? Like we all are. So I am a spiritual being. The whole point of doing all the work on myself was just so then I could become as clean and clear and bright as I possibly can be, to show up to every moment like that. That was my goal for spirituality and finding and doing that. Um, I I've been doing it now for so long. I think when I first would have started, like, I'd go on retreats and then I would come back and try to get that high again, like when I would come home, and I started to notice, but there was always in that thing in my head going, well, you need to have it all the time. It's not just a 1 week or a 4 day or here and there. It's like, how do you do this in everything you do, everybody you talk to, every relationship? And eventually it's mostly just kind of making sure that you stay inside of yourself and be present with the other people, with what you're doing, rather than trying to shift off to something else. Noticing your triggers, like noticing when things come up, and rather than reacting and then taking responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, like we can have reactions and triggers and have things go, you know what, sometimes it is because you need to speak up.
Yeah.
That's great. But if you do it in a hard way, it's also your responsibility to take that back and own
Yeah.
that and say, I'm sorry, you know, like, or I should not have done it like this. This is what I meant. I was in a moment. This is what's come up for me.
Yeah.
And I should have listened. I should have, you know, everything that kind of fess up to everything.
Human, that's the thing, right? You can be a spiritual being, which you are at your core. You're more, I guess the term would be a vibrational being than you are a physical being, really.
Mhm, mhm.
Which is very abstract and hard to understand. But you just are that, and you just integrate that into your humanity, and your humanity is that part where you make mistakes, where you know, shout at someone, where you
Mhm.
have emotions that are negative or go up and down, and where you're not always balanced. That's not human. You came here as a human because this space and time allows you to explore everything that has to do with the human body and
Mhm.
the world that's there. So that wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense to be, you wouldn't be a human being anymore if you were just flat and balanced and spiritual.
Yeah. 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 Like you
But
have to,
still, yeah,
it's, I mean, we are, I mean, I am guessing we are all still spiritual. It's kind of like, I think that all those pieces of us that we've decided that we don't want to have anymore, like we kind of break off, but we come down. I don't know where I'm going with that, but I would have to say that we still are spiritual, and it's just always the whole thing in a body.
yeah.
It's a
I
body
don't
that
think,
it's a
yeah,
body we're creating with
yeah,
energy, with our thoughts and our focused attention and willpower of being here in a physical body. Like we're creating it. So that's why, like, physical illness, all these things are actually just like thoughts or vibrations that are in alignment,
yeah,
you know, like, or a belief pattern that you've had about yourself that has eventually physically manifested into an illness or a sickness, or, you know, and that's come from a trauma or a belief that you've got. So um
manifest it. You can resolve it.
you can resolve it, but yeah, I feel a lot by feeling it,
Yeah,
you resolve it, because feelings are our compass. It's like, this is
yeah,
how we should see the world. However, we haven't been taught emotions, and we haven't been taught what those are for. Um, and then we've been taught when we've had them that they were bad, because they were in alignment with the people around us. And so we're just,
that's that conditioning. That's what I meant by that conditioning when I was
yeah.
saying that earlier. There's a lot of stuff that it feels like you come into this world and you're this shiny new being that has so much potential, and then you are exposed to all these people around you, and you pick up stuff and you get shaped and formed. And
Mhm.
once you're an adult at a certain level of maturity, I would say, know, and a certain level of where you know yourself, you start to try to get rid of all that stuff, to unlearn all the things that have shaped you, and to
Mhm.
change them into something that you feel is closer to who you really are, who you truly are. And I find
Yeah.
myself doing that. And that's when you say I've done a lot of work on myself, that's what this means to me. Like I've gotten rid of that stuff that I took on unconsciously, not of my free will, during my childhood. It's not all bad. There's a lot of good stuff there, but there's a lot of things that I don't need. I don't need certain
Mhm.
beliefs. I don't need to be feeling certain things about myself.
Mhm.
And if I can free myself from that, and I can help others free themselves as well, then you get to be conscious and deliberate in your life and who you are. You pick who you are.
Mhm.
So I like that. I think that's the biggest adventure that we can have on this earth, is exploring our humanity, exploring ourselves, and then understanding that that soul part of us, that higher part of us,
Mhm.
is really part of us. It's not that distant thing that we try to be. It's in us.
Mhm.
It's part of us, and we can activate it and open it up and let it be present in our life.
Yes.
I really like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's what we're doing.
So that's what we said. We had the Zoom call and we decided we want to record stuff. We want to, sorry, just kind of talk about different topics that are important to us. Is that your video going off? Oh,
My video. What?
there is some sort of noise that I can hear. Sorry. I think it's on your
Oh,
computer, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. It could be the door kind of opened into my office here. So
Right, sorry, easily distracted here. So what I'm trying to say is, like, Megan and I, we're friends. We're really close. We've worked together. We've wanted to do workshops together, which didn't really happen because COVID started, but I think we're going to revisit that. I think that would be cool to do
that would be
workshops
lovely.
together.
Yeah.
So we just figured we're going to talk together. It's a conversation between friends who share deeper stuff, and we want to keep that up and create some stuff
Yeah.
that you can listen to and identify with, and maybe you learn something, maybe you don't, maybe you have a better
Mhm.
understanding than we do. Be interesting to hear, and and get feedback as well. So
Yeah.
we're just talking and kind of being ourselves, pretty
Yep.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
it.
So
Yeah.
we're going to come up with some other topics that we can talk about, and maybe we'll
If
just have
anybody
conversations.
has any ideas, they can always let us know.
Yes, let us know.
Yeah.
How do they let us know?
Depends on where they found this.
I'm sure there's going to be some sort of way to communicate with us where we're posting this. So thank you for listening. Thank you so much for having this conversation, Megan. This is Megan Hill, by the way. We never really introduced ourselves because we didn't really plan on recording this. So Megan Hill, Nina Dietrich.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm sure we'll put more contact information and what we do into this video or somewhere. All right.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. Bye.